Hello, everybody. About to go on live on Instagram too for a few seconds. I got my guest for tomorrow by going live yesterday. So part of what people are telling me is you got to tell me earlier. So I'm starting to reach out to all of you to get on the show. If you're watching right now, definitely jump on. I got somebody coming on after they finish their run. Hopefully. All right, so I just went live on Instagram. All right, so this is the setup if you're on Instagram. So basically today what I'm going to talk about is just the opportunities that are like starting to hit because of this, right? Of course it's a messed up situation with what's everything that's going on with this corona thing, but there's opportunity, man. I'm talking to people about creating all kind of things, and part of what I want to have entrepreneurs on is because I want to see, what you're into, and see if there's ways of connecting you to some of the projects I'm in, and vice versa. I've helped multiple companies raise money in this coronavirus. We're creating software projects. We're working with the city on things. There's all kind of opportunity right now. This is the time where opportunity is at the highest level. Even though it's screwed up, people outside dying, people are out there not social distancing, or we're stuck at home. But there's so much opportunity right now. It's crazy. Like most of my day is on calls and not able to take advantage of the work I need to do. And then, as parents, it's crazy. My kids are definitely like, you're not playing with us enough, which you always got to take that with a grain of salt, right? So part of what I want to start talking about is the opportunity, right? So one opportunity, and we spoke about this a few episodes ago with my friend that works in healthcare, is healthcare opportunity right now. Anything that helps people feel better about the situation, gloves, masks, stuff like that, right? You see print shops turning into producing masks and making money like that. You see different industries shifting to take advantage, or just not take advantage, but help. But still, there's a way to make money right now, and survive, because right now they're talking about this thing could last a long time. So if you're an entrepreneur, I know both of you watching are entrepreneurs. Jump in. I'm going to send you DM. I want you guys to be on the show. So I'm not seeing anybody on Facebook yet, or Twitter, or YouTube. But I think right now the opportunities are. I just got off a call right now. I had to end the call right before the live about a major opportunity. If this works out, it could be just ridiculous, right? And it's basically like not even just keeping yourself to the local economy. There's people networking with people all around the world, seeing what's available, and then figuring out how to bring it to America. I'm a low-level entrepreneur. No, you're not. No, you're not. Oh, come on the show. Let's talk. I know you're thinking about stuff today. Let's talk about it. I was just talking to Mike from high school. He's gonna come on the show next week too. He has this clothing line, which I've been talking to him about for a long time, and now he's in a cool spot with it. So he's gonna jump on maybe next week. But we spoken about a lot of stuff: AI, design. Let's get on here. Let's chop it up for the public. Let me know. I'm gonna send you a DM. Jump on. Hold up. I'm about to send you the DM. Can you jump on if I give it to you? So one thing, right? Technology. I'm always talking about technology, right? But it's not just in technology. The opportunity, right? The call I just had today was in manufacturing, and eliminate that. Try to tell. So you coming on the show? That's what you mean? All right. I'm gonna send you the DM. Oh, all right, liar. Nice play. Omar is gonna be on the show tomorrow. No, next week. So I'm gonna jump off the live. Anybody else, I'm gonna DM you if you want to be on the show. But Thanks for tuning in on the Instagram. So the opportunity is not just in technology. So the call I was just on right before I jumped on here was about a manufacturing opportunity, right, in another country. Like part of it is I'll talk about my ideas in public, no problem. But I know other entrepreneurs don't feel that yet, and these entrepreneurs, they have corners on certain markets, so they're not really interested in me talking about stuff publicly. So I won't on the things that I have partners, which I guess most of the time I have partners. But early on, I'm not afraid to talk about my stuff, and that's how I get partners. And then the partners kind of start to make it so let's keep this quiet. Let's make sure we are, in the best position possible when it drops. So I have been, listening to them on those projects. But what I'm trying to do here is kind of see who else is interested in networking and see what they got going on, and see how I could possibly help or connect them with someone that is of need to their idea. So this morning, I get a call from one of my partners, and he's like, "All right, I'm on an interesting call. You should be on it." So I jump on and I'm like, I'm about to be on the show at 11. He's like, yeah, just listen right now, see what you can bring to it. So there's an opportunity to do stuff that's very, very timely with this coronavirus, right? There's manufacturers in different places in the world that have products that will work right now for this community, for hospitals, for everything. So we're working on relationships that would take advantage of that, right? So what I bring to the table is the technology lens, right? So most people think about the old school method of distribution and stuff like that, and I'm thinking about as direct to consumer, as high level branding as possible, instead of bulk ordering to the old model, right? So if you look at now, right? I just saw this post. Jeff Bezos is worth $24 billion more during this coronavirus thing, because he took advantage of this direct to consumer opportunity that technology brings. And right now, even me right now, I'm on this building brand. I'm telling you my stories, telling you my background, because eventually I want that when you think about a project and it's already happening, I'm getting bombed on LinkedIn. When you think of a project and you need help, I want you to come to me and I help you. And I either pass you off to someone who is in my network and everybody makes money together, or, I just help you myself. But I'm starting to really see the limitation of my time, even in this, right? Like you think, okay, we got all the time in the world. We're sitting here at home, but there's only a certain amount of hours in the day, and I'm really, really noticing it now. I'm like, I feel like I'm working the entire day. And, even my kids have been like, and I said this before, my kids are like, when are you going to play with us? And I feel like I've been playing with them a lot, but I guess it's not enough, So what I'm talking about here is, all right, I'm going to start bringing you behind the scenes into what I'm starting to figure out, right? So I'm starting to plan out my day. So I'm listening to a book called The 12-Hour Week, and I'm working with one of my mentors on really breaking down every chapter of that book. And that's another thing I invite for the audience to do with me, because I feel like the more we try to learn it together, the more we understand it. Like I listened to the book and I thought I had it. And then when my mentor started talking to me about it and asking me questions, I realized I didn't understand it as much as I thought, because I didn't start to implement it. So one of the major things is breaking down your day, right? So you wake up, you try to create some type of specific timeline to your day. So right now, I scheduled from 11 to 12 to be my networking time. But I'm doing my networking publicly. Why? Because at the same time, one of my goals is to create content that builds brand and draws in networking and stuff like that. So I said, all right, how do I kill two birds with one stone? Making a show, creating a show where I'm talking about what's going on and networking at the same time, right? So that's what this is. And I highly suggest many people to start to do the same thing. So I basically said, here are all the things I want to do every day. Here's the hours of the day. How do I make as much of that happen as possible? So right now, I wake up every day, even now, about 7 or 8 every day. From 8 to 11, I'm either catching up on work, catching up on emails, already having conversations. Like I had an hour-long conversation about a project from, people that are working all around the world, that even lasted right up until I had to hang up to jump on this live. So I'll do that about from 7 to 11. I shower, brush my teeth, talk to people, exercise, stuff like that in that time frame. 11 to 12 is where I'm creating content. I'm networking. I'm still trying to find opportunities, right? From 12 to about 5, I'm trying to work. And then there's, of course, call scheduling there. And some of those calls, I have to even figure out how to shorten my meeting times, because the other day I've been tracking my time, and I realized I was on 6 hours of meetings in one day. That's kind of crazy, right? If you think about an 8-hour workday, which is not for any entrepreneur, but let's say it's an 8-hour workday. 6 hours of that day is calls. It's not good, not a good use of time. So I said, all right, I need to figure out how to limit my scheduling for meetings. One of the major problems right now is, and there's another behind the scenes thing that I can talk about and see if anybody in the audience can help with, is they canceled summer youth. And that's a major blow to my nonprofit, MetaBronx, because we work with about 100 to 200 kids a year. And we get paid through different grants and different ways to help these kids throughout the summer get experience in technology companies. So they cancel summer youth. So what that means is those kids are not going to get paid. They're not going to get the experience, and we're not going to get paid to work with them. So we are innovating right on the spot, figuring out how to get those kids paid, still get the contracts. So what we're doing is we're shifting who we try to work with. Before it was very DOE focused. The DOE would pay us. They would pay the kids through summer youth, but that's off the picture right now. It's off the table. But what we're doing is we said, all right, how can we change that? So we started going after nonprofits as partners, charter schools, and private schools. Because what we do now, we're going to do it remote. And that doesn't mean anybody's off the table. Before we were limited to the Bronx and areas where kids can get to our location. But now that this can happen anywhere, we can have people in LA in our cohort working in a tech startup that's in our ecosystem. So we have been figuring that out almost all day, every day. At the same time, I'm building an app. I got investors during this pandemic. I got investors to give me money for an app after this quarantine thing happened. So another thing that's possible. I know people feel like, oh, it's not a good time to do certain things. There's all kind of opportunities right now. Investors are itching. They just need the right pitch. So, and I'll give you another advice. I didn't pitch any of them. I didn't pitch them. I brought them in as advisors, and I told them I'd pay for their time. I pay for their time in equity, right? So the first way I brought in the first few investors was, look, I need help in this. Can you help me? I can't afford to pay you right this second. It's not smart to pay you right this second for this, but I'm going to give you equity for your time. I'm going to take blocks of your time and bring you in, and you're going to be part of the idea just off your time. You're going to have equity. Of course, it's going to be a little bit of equity. It's not going to be the same thing as you owe me a check. So right there, that starts the path down. All right, how does that work? But I keep it to having them understand the idea, right? So I'm jumping back and forth, right? So there's the nonprofit where we have to find solutions to our service problem, which is the main service provider this year is off the table. So we have to find different service providers. Then we came up with a technology idea that we believe will work very well once this whole pandemic is over. So we're working on it, right? So it needed money. It needed people. It needed resources. So I went to the first group of people that I believed I needed for this project. And I brought them in as time investors, right? Each one of them had a role specific to what I believe I needed. 4 out of 5 of them invested money, right? And because the way the system I have is based on this this book called Slicing Pie, which I've been talking about. I talked about to every investor, every founder, every resource that is involved in my network. If you read that book, you'll be easy plug and play to any project that I'm involved in, because everybody involved in it is 100% on board with that. So that was my first piece of the puzzle that I had to make sure everybody understood the framework that we're all going to work under, which means if you give me your time will be valued at a certain dollar amount, and that will be considered as equity. And if you want to get paid for it as soon as there's money, you can get paid for it, or you can keep your equity. It's up to you. Or it's up to the group. It's not always up to you, right? If it makes sense where we only owe you $500 and you own like 0.001% of this thing, it makes sense to just give you the $500, right? But if you've put in $10,000 worth of time, it's a different situation. So the way it works is, if you give us an hour of your time, you get paid whatever your rate is right now, whatever your rate is if you got a job, times 2. So let's say, make the math easy, you're worth $100,000 a year. That's $50 an hour. So we're going to give you $100 an hour for every hour you work on one of our projects. So for instance, we need a developer to look over some code. That developer right now makes $75 an hour. We'll give them $150 an hour. We say, look, all right, give us 3 hours of your time. Look over this code. We can either pay you once there's money. We can pay you from the investment right now, or wait. You get to decide, because you might look up and you got 20, 30, 40, 50 hours in this thing, and it might make more sense for you to stay in or than just to get paid. Even though right now I know is a time where people need money. So if you decide to get paid, you get paid. So it's a win-win, right? Then investment in money is worth 4 times the money. So let's say you need $10,000 and you talk to 4 people and you say, look, I'll give you you give me $2,500. That's worth $10,000 right now in this idea. If you give it to me right now, I'm giving you $10,000 worth of my company for $2,500. So with that model, I've been able to raise money for multiple companies in this pandemic. Imagine outside of the pandemic, right? So the model, and like I've been saying, going through these different books, you have to kind of work with different people to understand what it entails and really understand it. So when I first read Slicing Pie, I reached out to the author and I was like, all right, I don't understand this. How do you, and he responded. And a lot of these authors will respond because they're happy to see people read their book. Then I started showing it to my investment partners and my service partners, and they brought their questions. And then we tried to figure them out on our own too. And then we brought the author in again. And we started to talk to him again, and he told us, no, this is how I would do it. This is how you should do it. This is how what I've seen in the past work, not work. So right now, part of what I would like this to be is, I would like this to end up being an opportunity for people to come in and read those same books, listen to those same books, and join the conversation and see what questions you have and see if I can answer them because I spoke to the author and I had the same question, or we come up with new questions and we ask the author, or we just figure them out ourselves. But the key is, I just feel like there's a humongous opportunity right now, and every day I see it more and more and more. And I know that the key to taking advantage of opportunity is people and money, right? But right now, money's scarce because, people are afraid. But investors know this is the time where they make their money. Like right now, I'm literally talking to people who are buying up places because they know it's the cheapest time to buy them. Setting up shop in different parts of the world because it's the cheapest time to get all that together. And, I think part of what I'm seeing by doing this show is, so for instance, yesterday and the day before, I had this guy on named Sam. I don't know if you watched it. If you didn't, you should definitely check it out. Never met Sam before in my life, right? But I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Instagram, and I'm telling people, jump on the show because I'm doing a networking thing. The guy hits me up on LinkedIn. He comes on the show. I find out what he does. He does analytics, advertising, and data. The project I'm working on needs that. So I tell him about the project after the show, because my partners don't want me to talk about it, but you know, we need people. So, and he's like, oh my God, that's a crazy idea. Like, you're gonna make some money with this. And I'm like, look, we can make some money with this because I need this. I need what you do. And if you're interested, again, I'll pay you for your time and just time. And if you like it, you keep going. And if it doesn't work out, we just pay you your money and take your equity back. But in this way, it feels fair. I know as an entrepreneur, I've always been approached to join up with people. Oh, I got this great idea. Miguel could come in as this or that. A lot of times where those things fall off is it's not really figured out how everybody is rewarded. It's like, no, we'll take care of you down the line. Don't worry about it. Just trust us. And a lot of people, including me, after a certain amount of time, you just lose interest. And you're like, you know what? I got other things to do with my time. And again, like I started this conversation, even in this time, I'm starting to realize how much little time I have. So I have to be very specific with how I spend it, right? So now in this pandemic, I'm learning how to be much more selective with what I do. So right now, this is going to be the time I block out for anybody that has questions for me that I'm not being paid, or it's not an idea that I'm working on that is something that I'm a part of as an equity owner, you know, or there's a clear monetary value to my time there, right? So this is where I'm looking at my day and saying, okay, in this pandemic, I don't have to travel as much, so I can substitute that travel time for time with my kids, right? Meeting time, how can I shorten that meeting time as much as possible? Producing time, right? Where's the time where I'm spending, where I'm like just bulk taking the most amount of mental power to finish tasks. So for instance, for this app that we're about to create, I'm designing it, I'm UXing it, I'm finding the people, I'm talking to investors. So that takes up a lot of my time, but it is right now, I believe the best thing I have for money once this thing comes out. Once we're out of here, I believe this app will generate the most amount of money for me. So I'm spending most of my time on that. My ears ringing. Somebody must be talking about me. If you're talking about me, just jump on the show. So the way I see it is planning out your day is the first step, right? So I've been planning out my day, 8 to 11, catch up on everything. You know, shower, brush teeth, talk to mentors, watch any video, check email, whatever I have to do. At 11 to 12, do this show. Network, talk to people about whatever they have going on that maybe I can get involved in, or I can point them to the right direction. 12 to about 6, I'm trying to get work done. 6 to 9, play with my kids. 9 to 10, I've been doing a show with a partner who's involved in this idea that we are creating for after the pandemic is over, called the Beyond Celebrity Show. So there we are making content to draw in audience that we know will most likely download our app, right? So everything I'm doing is with a purpose, right? And then 11 to however long I can stay awake, I'm playing with my kids or Netflixing, right? And chilling. So the big thing is, you know, that's not going to work after the pandemic, right? Like that schedule has no travel, has no, you know, leaving the house, right? I'm not going anywhere. So this schedule right now is me trying to say, all right, how do I take the most advantage of this time? And everything is kind of figuring out how to be the most productive in the parts of my life that I want to be, right? So, you know, I got the kids in there, I got networking, I got producing, I got catching up with people, right? So the way, you know, I'm looking at this 12-week yearbook, which I highly recommend. I'm going to put it in the thing, and Slicing Pie. I believe those 2 books right now is my school. I'm going through it with all my mentors, all my founder partners, and we're coming up with questions and ideas around how we can take advantage of this time. 12-week year, right? We're going to be in this for 12 weeks. If you think about it, we've already been in it for 4. And it's not anywhere near over. Hopefully we're not in quarantine all 12 weeks, but you know, this thing is going to be a problem for a while. So what is the opportunities and how do you take advantage of them? So right now, this 12-week year thing, let me find the book link again to put it in here. I'll put the Slicing Pie book and the 12-week year book in here, and I invite participation from people to come on and ask your questions, think about how to implement it in your life and mine. I'll definitely give you my advice of what I'm doing. I did the audiobook. I'm doing audiobooks because one, I don't want to ship and I just like audiobooks better. So I'm putting that link here. And it's an Amazon link. If you buy it, I make money. So that's another thing. Amazon affiliate link. So that's another way of making money right now. All right, so Slicing Pie and 12-week year. 12-week year book. So, but on the call before we spoke to this guy about this like international manufacturing project that we're gonna jump on, we were talking about the 12-week year because right now he's on me because I'm not producing enough. Like even working like that, I'm not producing enough, and we're trying to identify why that is, right? And it's definitely because of the meetings. Like I'm in meetings for way too many hours in the day, so I need to start being more selective about my meetings. So let me link you to this. Or really shift them down and say, look, you got me for 30 minutes right now. Let's get this done. And then I'm jumping off. And I definitely have to do that. And even so yesterday I had a priorities list based on my 12-week year task list. And I also had calls for one of the other projects that's super urgent. So I said, look, one of them is going to have to lose today. And the number two thing that I believe was the most important didn't get much of my time. And I had to make that decision, or it was going to push out something that's super important. And today there was a meeting about it. So I said, look, I need to get it done. This thing is going to have to take a back burner to today. And hopefully today I can get to it. But basically, the way I see it is, that's the way I need to become more productive, right? When this wasn't a thing, it was much easier to be productive, and I wasn't the most productive person that I could have been back then either. I'm very they call it an entrepreneurship bright shiny objects. Like a bright shiny object will bring me in, and I'll be like, you know what? I like that idea. I'm in. Right. So I get so many things come at me that a lot of times I'm like, you know what? That is a really good idea. I'm down to help, without understanding that that's going to either take something away from my plate unknowingly or knowingly. Right. So you got to make a decision. Like there's only a certain amount of hours in a day. You can't work on everything. And I know, you know, I've said yes to many, 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 many things. And part of what I told myself I would do in the beginning of 2020 actually is limit what I say yes to, because I know, you know, I can say yes to everything and just drop every single ball in the air, and then nothing happens. So I'm basically being very, very specific with my time, and I'm saying, okay, what can make me money now? What can make me money after this is out, and spending time on those, right? And I'm saying, okay, in my day, where are those hours where I spend that time, and like literally block them out. And now I'm going to even start blocking out where there's no meetings between these times, unless, and like I said, unless there's money and it has to do with something that is, you know, a priority to right now and after this pandemic is out. So 12-week year, I posted it, and Slicing Pie, I posted it, right? So the 12-week year, I listened to a part of the book this morning as well while I was brushing my teeth, right? So the biggest thing that I'm not doing right now, and I'm trying to, is accounting for how much of my tasks I'm doing. So in the book, it's around chapter 16 and 19. Those are the two chapters that are really getting into it. It talks about listing the most important things you have to do in that week, which is almost like a month's worth of work, right? Every week is a month. So if you list that and then you see how much in a week you're getting done, you know how productive you're being. So the author says if you're not getting 65% of that list done, there's a few reasons why that's happening, right? You're either prioritizing other things that you shouldn't be, or the list is maybe too hard, right? You got to break down the task into more specific things. Because if it's like write a book, this week I'm going to write a book because I was going to write a book in a month. That's a little hard, right? But if it was like write chapter 1 or write the outline or figure out the research I need for chapter 1, now that task is a little more likely, because what ends up happening is you can demotivate yourself by not getting stuff done, right? So if you said write a book and then you keep seeing that on your list and it's like, damn, I'm a failure, I'm not doing what I said I would do, of course you're going to start being like, you know what, maybe that's not possible, maybe I just don't do that. But if you said write my outline, write my first chapter, or write one paragraph for my first chapter, just minor wins keep you motivated and keep you on wanting to go on that journey, because it's hard. Just, you got to self-motivate. Another big thing is talking about is creating groups that will, in a way, they definitely say there's nobody that can hold you accountable other than yourself. But by creating groups where you have to meet about what's going on and talk about it, is kind of a hack to make you a little more accountable. Because, for instance, today I have a meeting at 3:00 about the app idea we're working on. And there was a lot of things I hadn't done because I was on meetings the day before about Metabronx. So I said, all right, I gotta say nothing else is happening. I gotta get this done because today we're gonna get on a call about the app. So I made it happen, right? And that's kind of the way this book is kind of talking about creating tasks that are very, very important for what you're going to need to happen in the next month or 3 months. Break them down to as little tasks as possible, and then meet at least once a week about how those tasks are going. So, and then hopefully you're getting to 65% done, right? So right now I'm in the early process. My lists look crazy, they're bad, I have to chop stuff down. I'm looking at my time, because he also says in the book, it's not just about your business, it's about your life, right? Like, so like I said, I have to look and say, my kids are telling me I'm not spending enough time with them, even though I believe I am, right? But it's kind of like, I was listening to this comedian and he was like, it's like a person telling you you're an asshole and you'd be like, no, I'm not. And he's like, it's not up to you to know if you're an asshole. If other people say you're an asshole, then you're being an asshole, right? So if my kids, even though I feel like I'm playing with them a lot more than I was before, if they feel like I'm not giving them enough time, then I'm not, right? I got to figure out how. So I said, all right, if I look at my life, 24 hours, right? 10 hours of sleep, 8 to 10 hours of sleep is not really normal and not happening. So like, let's say 7 to 8 hours. All right. Now, what the rest of that day look like, right? I'm committing to certain things. Like I committed to that show at 9 o'clock every day. I'm committing to this show at 11 o'clock every day for different reasons. Now how the rest of that day fills out, talking to my parents, talking to my family members, talking to my kids, talking to new possibilities too, which is hopefully this time, but it's not really working out yet, but it will. So tomorrow I got a good guess that is a crazy story. Like, it's funny because he followed me on Instagram and I was like, I think this is the guy. It is the guy. So I don't want to tell you the whole story, but it's crazy. Like I did an internship at one of the biggest record labels in the world still. This guy was working there And I'll tell you that story. Tomorrow, you tune in tomorrow. He'll be on the show. And maybe I'll get some more people on the show. We'll see. Today, somebody was supposed to jump on, but we'll see. They may not make it. But I'm gonna just keep talking about, what I'm thinking about, and see if it helps an entrepreneur. Somebody watches this and it helps them. So on the slicing pie side, I highly suggest everybody understand that, because even if it's just to work with me, I want everybody who is working with me on projects to understand that, because I've seen it to be the best way to have everybody understand what they get out of it, out of working on a project, right? So that's going to be the way I move forward. So right now on projects. So if there's no slicing pie and you don't understand it, I'm really not interested, because I know I can't get other people on board. So that's how I'm looking at it, right? And then on the 12-week year, every project has to have its own 12-week year breakdown. And I got to be able to commit to those tasks, because what he talks about in the book that's really the eye-opener to me is when you accept something like, oh, I'll be involved in this company. You're accepting tasks that you understand and you don't understand, right? So there's this task that you don't even know that you're going to end up having. They're going to take more of your time. So when you add all that up, you can't take on too much. And I'm a serial person that does that. I take on as much as I feel like comes to me. I'm like, yeah, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that. And then it turns out I'm like, yeah, I screwed that up because I couldn't do that, because I didn't realize that needed all this time, and I couldn't do that because I'm doing this. So right now what I'm trying to focus on is MetaBronx, the nonprofit, where we work with startups and we work with kids. So we're working with startups in that environment. I'm focused on this new entity that we're creating, where there's investors, time people, and we're working with companies. So we're either creating companies or we're taking in founders and we're giving them time and money for equity of their business. So I'm limiting even that to 3 projects. I'm not trying to do too much of that, because in the beginning, a lot is based on technology, and that's a heavy time for me that I have to spend time. So I can't do too many of those. And then, of course, mass ideation, which mass ideation is mostly my consultancy, right? People come to me with asks as for my time, or for me to put groups together to build whatever they need. And I manage that for them. So in a way, it's kind of merging with this other thing, because if I can take those projects and say, okay, if you're just going to pay us, all right, just deal with mass ideation. But if you want more people involved, you want developers, investors, then you really should be talking to this group, right? And they're gonna do due diligence on this project and see if it's something they're interested in. So those are my 3 things right now. Mass ideation, trying to make money right now, consultancy. You need help putting together something, websites, all these different things I do, apps. Or there's a project that I am willing to get involved in with my partners, either through investment or time, or MetaBronx, the nonprofit. So that's where I'm trying to divide 6 hours for all that, though. And even that, I'm starting to look and say, is that possible? Is that possible? Like, it might not be, and I'm going to have to drop some stuff off the table. But it may not be that I'm not involved in them. I'm just going to have someone else deal with them, right? I bring more people into my pie and say, okay, you're going to be doing this to make sure that this happens, but it's not going to not happen because I'm not involved, So, at the end of the day, that's part of what I'm even creating content for, to find people with skills that say, oh, we need this. Okay, are you interested in these projects? Here's 5 projects. You want to be involved in them? And then you'll make money or get equity, either one. And then we'll be involved in some way. Either have an investor put money in it, or I'll put a few hours of time to make sure it's going in the right direction. Maybe I'll put in an hour a week just to make sure it's going in the direction, and the founder is looking at me to help them push it in the right direction. So that's where I'm going with my situation of time, right? But I am dissecting it and saying, okay, is this a a good use of my time, right? I'm analyzing everything in every block and saying, that hour, 2 hour meeting that I just had, could I maybe have been doing something else on that call? Some meetings are very heavily reliant on me speaking. So I can't be like designing something or thinking something through and be talking about this idea that it needs my attention. So I got to either figure out how to limit those or maybe stack them or figure out how to bring more people in to help me with those. So the task thing though is very hard for me, right? Because I'm not an organized person. Most creatives are not. I'm also most likely undiagnosed ADD, which most entrepreneurs are. But what I'm trying, and my mentors are really trying to like contain that and say, look, that's why I talk to them in the mornings, right? What do you believe is my main task? Because from my perspective is this, but what do you think? I actually think it's this because this, and that. Well, I believe it's this because this, and that. And then we work it out. And then it's like, all right, you know what? This is what it is. Let's do that. So today, my task is to, catch up with everyone on this app because I have been working with a developer. I'm designing. I'm going back and forth on the developer. He's asking me for more stuff, him and his team. And I am kind of doing the lion's share of that work because I'm the most technical person on the team right now. So eventually that's going to change. I'm going to bring in more people that are going to take on more of that challenge. But right now, not a time to do it. I don't need it. So today I'm going to be catching up with the marketing person, the operations person, the sales person, and the lead investors, which most of those people are. They're the initial investors. I'm investing the most time in the idea by far, but that's just right now. It's not going to continue to be that. It's going to now, after I get it to a certain point, it's going to take on a lot more people's time. But it wouldn't happen if I didn't pull it to that point. So that's where Slicing Pie has been amazing, because in the past, I may have dropped this project because I just feel like I'm doing all the work. What's the point, right? Like I'm doing all the work, I'm not getting enough help. But what this does is it makes you, it reminds you that ideas are nothing. It's the execution. And you are going to do a lot of the work, but you're going to be rewarded for that. And then the more people do work, your percentage of the company is going to change, but it will be for a good reason. It's because this thing is happening, right? So you can own 100% of nothing, right? Like you could say, oh, I'm going to do this all myself, and it never happens. But if you say, look, I need this developer, let me bring him on, and I'm going to have my time. I'm going to just have time, and he's going to start taking a piece of my pie, then that makes sense. So we do have a guest today. He's jumping in. This is another one of those. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Excellent. How you living, brother?
How you doing, man? So this is another one of these. I follow you. We follow each other. We're LinkedIn, Instagram, but I've never met you, right? So this entrepreneur hour is a networking thing. So I DM'd him this morning like, yo, I don't think we ever met. So
we have. I want to correct you on that. We have.
All right.
It was a Bronx tech event. One of the few. I mean, there should be more. It was in 2014, 2015. It was in the courthouse. It was a big event. Mike Blake was there.
Oh, was the thing when MSNBC came?
Yeah.
I mean, I was meeting 1,000 people that day. I don't remember, but so that's cool. All right, so that was the day Meta Bronx was made, actually.
Wow, really?
That day, because what happened was the night before, we knew we were going to be on this stage. He was going to put us on TV. We were going to talk about all of our startups, and we're like, how do we talk about all these startups? There's no real entity that we're working under. We're just doing this for these startups. So we said, let's make an entity. And we just came up with a name that night. We called it Meta Bronx. We designed the logo. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning. We're designing the logo. We printed out things. And then we did that event the next day. And we presented all our startups. We didn't make it on TV, but we were there. Met KRS-One, met you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess tell the audience what you do.
For sure. So I am an innovation inclusion strategist. So all the work that I do, much in the way you describe that company, how there's many different things and it's all kind of wrapped around one entity. I've packaged my various projects around a brand that I call Be Great Today. And that encapsulates my personal philosophy and mission to help others be great. And I define being great as helping others to be great. So if you can be in a position that you can help others be great, whether that's through entrepreneurship, through education, and innovation in general, which I believe is the through line through any industry. So a couple of projects I'm running, wrapping up a project with the Children's Aid Society, helping high school seniors gain exposure to technology and entrepreneurship. So teaching them digital marketing, teaching them Python, and things like that. How do we do that? Yeah. So we developed a curriculum that goes between digital marketing and coding, and we brought in a ton of guests. So like my guiding principle with anything is always be connecting. And I mean in terms of connecting with people primarily, but also with ideas. So our goal was to bring in as many professionals that have some sort of affinity, whether it's the Bronx, people of color, so that when the students see those role models, they're like, oh, I could be that. So that's kind of one of those flagship projects I've been running.
Yep, and that's awesome because that's a very big thing. The same type of goal that I have with Meta Bronx, right? The idea is you have a technology background. I did too, but you didn't really see many of us when I was in these jobs. I didn't really see many of us, and I didn't really see a career path. I always saw like a ceiling. So I said, you know what? I'm going to start my own company, but then I want other people to know that there's multiple paths. But you could take my path, you could take your own path, but you should see that there are people like us that can do it because very rarely would you see it. So I created a nonprofit for the same reasons, but I started out on the startup side, and then what I started to do was bring kids and give them experience. So what we do in Meta Bronx is we'll help startups. And then we take kids and we give them internships at those startups. Yeah. So maybe there's a way for us to collaborate. What are you doing about this summer and summer youth being canceled? Does that affect you at all?
So it doesn't affect me directly in terms of the project I have now since that's wrapping up, but it does just like in terms of the mission, right? So getting back to the mission, we have all these students who could have had an opportunity this summer, and I'll be a little bit more frank. So I don't know enough about the SYEP program. I don't think I did it when I was growing up. I did do some other internship opportunities. I think those things are valuable. But when I think about specifically getting folks into tech roles, there weren't really any tech jobs, very few in the industry. So like, especially in your Bronx, when I mentor these students, I'm like, yo, unfortunately, don't sign up for SYP in the Bronx. That's what we tell folks because we get short shifted. So you are, most likely you're gonna be working in like in a day camp, which is cool. And for some people,
it's not.
All right, cool.
It's messed up. So to me, I told the SYP this to their face.
Yeah,
I said most of the time, this is a babysitting platform. Okay. Like it's not about giving these people real world experience. Yeah. Like that is gonna allow them to really jumpstart their career. So what's happening now is they're shutting it down because a lot of the industry, the entire economic engine is not technology focused, right? Most of it is hands-on, and especially with summer youth, right? Summer youth, a lot of the placements are like Bronx Zoo, the Parks Department, right? Stuff like that, where it's hands-on, you have to go somewhere. But with tech, you've worked in tech, I've worked in tech. Yeah. Remote work is no problem, right? We've been doing this for 20 years. So we're trying to teach these kids how to be in that environment, right? But of course, that is even against the summer youth employment. They don't like remote work. They're like actually against it,
So
but it's like it's the
remote work is
future.
hard, brother.
I
It's,
know it is.
so and you said that's my trigger word. I mean, I'm all about the future of work. That's why my podcast, the Be Great podcast,
Yeah, I was gonna
is
say
about
plug it.
Yeah, it's about the leaders shaping the future of work for the better. So with COVID-19, I mean, when it started happening, I mean, you going through the grief and like different emotions. Like part of it, I'm like, as somebody who's been geeking about the future of work and how we need to be in it, and that's how I was thinking about it. How can we, as Black and Latino folks, people from where we're from, how can we be a part of this innovation economy? So I'm thinking, this is go time. This is acceleration time. Things are gonna move faster, and we have to catch up. And it's the government's imperative to help us catch up. So canceling SYEP was a cop out.
It was.
And I saw like, okay, they have a budget shortfall. I was like, all right, let's just cut this out the budget. Nah, they could have kept, I don't know, 30 million. Let's pilot a remote work program because it's the future of work. Because it's not easy. I'm gonna be 100 with you. It's not easy, right? So I actually tried to transition our program to that, to a little bit of that model, and kind of, because it's actually, the students actually did get a stipend in the program that we've been running. Sure. And what you find with a lot of these programs is, and I think even with work, and I used to work with students at Lehman College, you kind of get into this rhythm where people are clocking in and just like, working and just getting money. Like there's not a connection of time and effort.
100%.
So with remote work, you have to be aligned.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I've been saying. If anything, this is a great opportunity, because a lot of times, even with Metabronx, right, it's tough to manage 100 kids coming in and making sure everyone is doing their tasks, because they'll come in, you're working with 10, you're working with 5, and then you look up and they're gone, and it's like, all right, did you do what you did? And we're on Slack. So the beauty of what we've been able to do so far is, a lot of the kids, even when they leave, they still work with the startups and they still work with us remote. So we have a system. It's more about now forcing the entire industry to be on that system. One of the biggest things, which is paperwork. So they still have to do hand timesheets with blue ink only. If you put a timesheet in non-blue ink, it's not official, which is crazy to me. So we are like, wait a minute, this is so like caveman status. Like, why are we doing it like this? And now this gives us, like you said, the opportunity to push everyone. Like the DOE just had to get pushed for the online schooling.
Oh yeah.
Right? In a month, less than a month, 1 million kids online homeschool.
Yeah. And all the teachers that wasn't teaching got caught.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or the ones who don't know how to use a computer, be like, wait, you don't know how to use a computer?
Which is a lot of them, right? I mean, like I'm a lot of times my kids technical support, right? Because the teacher is sending a PDF and they can't get it on the screen, and it's like, all you gotta do is this, right? So and it's not their fault in a way. It's really the DOE not training, right? Like, how do you have people that don't understand this? You just like you force training in other things, you'd be forcing training in technology, because what are we teaching our kids? That's the major part about education right now. We're teaching old methods of everything. Yeah. Like you just mentioned innovation. There's a real good book called Most Likely to Succeed. And it talks about how we are not training our kids for the future jobs, which are all going to be innovation, because automation is going to take away the types of jobs where we are just doing the same repetitive thing. Because, at the end of the day, a robot's going to be able to do that no problem, and it's never going to get sick, and it's never going to call out, right? So why teach kids the same old model of repetitive jobs? Remember, the same and even testing and stuff like that is based on memory instead of thinking, right? And that's an old school model.
I read Tony Wagner's other book, Creating Innovators. So we're tracking on the same thing, because we're seeing it. We're watching the game. Everything is changing, and it's the same education. For all the shit that what's it called? What's that? It was Common Core got. I appreciated the attempt at trying to get students thinking outside the box. The underlying problem is that we haven't evolved past testing. Like there has to be more research
I think
done.
now it's going to start being a problem, right? Like, how do you test kids now?
It's crazy. I mean, like it's the blessing disguise, and I want to just empathize with everyone who's
I agree.
losing jobs and life, especially us.
I know a lot of people losing both. No doubt.
But on the other side of things, it's like it's exposed. So it's exposed those inequalities, even in terms of life and wealth. It's also exposed the inequalities in terms of education, and exposed we just talked about assessment. How do you know that someone's learning outside of the context of testing? With testing, you can't even really measure learning half the time. It's a crutch. And then you have so many awesome teachers, many of which honestly were failed by the teacher education system. So they are hewing to a crappy system that's being exposed. And then some of these students, and I'm really somebody needs to do a documentary of them. There's some students right here, right now that are actually learning more.
I feel like my kids, and it's not my kids go to a good school. Like they're in one of the top schools. I live in the Bronx, but I live in Thrall's Neck. Their school is really good.
Excellent.
But I feel like, for instance, yesterday I had to do their science project, right? And the way the interaction and the time I had to give them for it and the way it all worked, I do believe that they learned more in that scenario than if we weren't in quarantine. For multiple reasons, because I was able to be here and be here, but also the way it was created, the way it was online, they had to watch video, they had to do all these stuff. In class, I'm not sure the one-on-one is there, right? Like I'm literally one-on-one with each one of my kids and saying, do you understand this? No? Okay. What do we need to make sure you understand it? Do you understand it? Do you, right? Make sure all of them are reading it. Did you read the whole thing? Read it for me out loud. I want to make sure you understand, right? So one-on-one, but it's very hard to do that. It's very hard to do that even now, right? So I agree, man. I think I've been saying this a lot. I think right now is a huge opportunity, probably one of the biggest opportunities we will ever have, as entrepreneurs, as educators, and as parents, right? So I think I'm not taking advantage of it enough, and I'm working like a dog. But even this show is me trying to find more people like you. Like I didn't even understand. I follow you. I listened to your podcast, and I didn't even understand what you did till right now. Because I mean, that's just the way it is, right? Like you got to really invest in. And same with me. I got family members that think I fix computers. You know what I mean? Like they're like, "You work in computers, right? Can you fix my computer?" I'm like, "Actually, that's not what I do." So it's tough to, over time you'll start to understand what people do. But I'm glad me and you just got to connect and start learning about what each other does. So what I'll try to do, I try to keep it within an hour. We'll probably go a little over today, but what are you looking for? What are some of the things maybe from me or anybody watching that can help you move your either career, company, or anything forward?
I appreciate that, man. I really appreciate the question, and thanks again for creating this forum, man. I've been seeing your work, just the evolution, just putting in the iterations, putting the work in, develop the product. Man, you're a natural in front of the camera, man. I see that, man.
Thank you.
I'm trying to get like you. But I see it now. Like you've been putting the time in, brother. And
I tell people just to stay on this topic. Yeah, I spent 6 months making videos that nobody saw. Just shooting in the gym because I hated every single one of them, and I basically got to this point where I didn't give a fuck anymore. So right now I'm in the not give a fuck zone, and that's why I do this every day. So I suggest you do the same because you're in the same route. You got the podcast.
100%.
But facial branding is important.
100%, brother. I think it's great. I'm so glad we touched on that. It's like that Gary V model, and he talks about it.
That's my guy.
I was watching a video about like. I just watching a video about how he's putting on all this free content. It's actually really high quality content. We're just not paying for it. 1,000%. And we're all learning. So for me, my ask right now, I'm in the midst of a couple of things. But I'll kind of focus. I kind of just like that entrepreneur in me. I gotta mention the 3 of them. I'll mention 3 things. One, I'm helping launch a nonprofit that's near and dear to my heart it is the intent was to start in the Bronx, and we are pretty much starting in the Bronx. We're open to other folks around, but obviously not going to be physical, so it'd be online. It's going to be a cloud computing academy. So looking for students that are trying to be the infrastructure for the future of work. That's how I'm thinking about it.
So on that one specifically, before you get to the next one, I do a show every night called the Beyond Celebrity Show, based on this a partner of mine in another business. Yesterday, we had a guy who was one of his friends, a Hispanic guy. They were in the military together, and now he's one of AWS's lead, like, engineer sales. I don't know exactly, but he basically was talking about the huge opportunity of cloud computing yesterday on that show. I might have him on this show based on what you're talking about. And I may connect you with him because he may be a great resource for your nonprofit. Like, Amazon may be willing to, like, throw money at you because it's literally aligned to what they're doing, you know? 100%. And they need more people of color, right? Like, at the end of the day.
100%. I mean, look at it. Yo, what are we on right now? We all on AWS.
Everybody.
Hey, we're all on the cloud. You're talking about Netflix. Everything we're doing is on the cloud. Like, literally, the infrastructure for economic activity is the cloud. So we need to be all up in that. So we're gonna be doing 8 months, nights and weekends, trying to get folks who are really just about the work. You don't have to have experience. If you do, that's cool. If you have a computer science major, cool. If you have no degree, whatever. Just people who are willing to dig deep and do the work. So folks that are in the field.
What type of people are you looking for? Younger? What's the age and all that? How does it work?
Sure. So like, we have a target age, just like in terms of marketing, right? But I don't want to even say that. I mean, it would skew to the younger side because that's just like the people who would be most receptive to it. But it's really about folks that are tinkerers, right? People who like to solve problems, right? So if you like to get under the hood of a car, get to know how a car works, this might be something that interests you, right? But it's just a digital. It's
interesting that you say that.
Yeah.
This guy said a lot of people that were in the military were going towards cloud computing because I guess it's similar, right? Like, you got to be hands-on and stuff like that, and think through situations. Somehow cloud computing, like a good amount of them are going into that sector.
You have to absorb a lot of information and because cloud computing is really just the next level of IT. What was IT? So the people that used to fix computers, used to rig up networks, now it just has been virtualized. So those same underlying concepts are in the cloud. So some of those folks in the military may have got their A+ and then Network Plus.
They get certs and stuff like that.
They're already on game and they learn quick. They learn quick. They bust out these certs like nothing. So that's so I'm looking for students.
So how can people find that? Like, where should people go if they want to be in, or I don't know if they just find you, or should they go?
So folks should find me right now. We're working on the website. So it's my first name dot my last name. So Daniel.Adeyanju@gmail.com.
You're gonna have to spell that.
Sure. Daniel.Adeyanju.
ADE. What was ADE?
YAN as in Nancy.
YAN.
JU.
JU at Gmail?
At Gmail, yeah. That's my first name, that my last name at Gmail. And that's for any of these 3 items. So this
is that right? That's right.
Perfect. Yeah, so shoot me an email. We'd love to chop it up with you about cloud. I'm open to, like, talking to anyone who has connections in cloud, who does cloud, who's trying to be in the program, who knows somebody's trying to be in a program.
So I just spoke about for the past, like, hour how I need to, quantify my time and do better. But I'm interested because yesterday I'm having this conversation with him, and we're building this product that's very cloud heavy need.
Okay.
So he's helping us to architect it, and he's telling me, hey, look at this, look at that. He sent me like 5 videos after the call, and I'm looking at it like, man, I'm getting back into the zone of, like, figuring stuff out, which I love that. But right now I'm more on the business side, figuring out business stuff, but not the technical nitty gritty. So when I'm in there, I'm like, man, I really got to learn this. I'm going to have to learn this. So I'm interested.
Excellent. So then the other 2 real quick. So 2 is, I'm looking at ways to develop new streams of income. So especially in this time, I think it's giving me a spur, like, all right, we need to get this money.
Yep.
So I've been thinking a lot about starting an agency. So
That's right.
what that might look like. So I mean, I'm really calling it a creative agency at this point. A digital agency, I should say.
Sure.
So figuring out, like, do you start broad, do you start deep? I'm trying to
So
lean
I
on
can give you, some experience and advice on that. I've ran an agency for, damn, I hate saying that, but like 11 years. I started my mass ideation in 2009, and I thought about it as an agency, but it more was a production company, right? Which
Okay.
meant like normally agencies are the companies that go find clients and advertise for them. My company, I call it an agency because it's like a consultancy, but I was the one that they were coming to build their advertising. So they say, okay, I have to advertise for IHOP. What could we do? And I would come up with a bunch of ideas. They would hire us. We would build it, right? Instead of being the one that targets IHOP, gets IHOP to pay them, and then finds the agency, right? I mean, finds the production company. So which one are you trying to be? And I can give you advice on, the pros and cons of both of those. And it doesn't have to happen right now. We can do it again later.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm definitely more on the building side. So like even going towards dev shop to some extent, but really helping folks think through what they're trying to build and building the right thing.
So we should do a whole nother show on that. If you're interested, I'll go through my whole history of mass ideation, break down the ups and downs, the pros and cons of that, because I'm on the side of, I've done the production company thing to death, and you can make money on it. The big thing I'm saying right now to myself is, as this globalization happens, can you compete on price, right? Because what happens a lot of times is these agencies will come and you could be awesome, but they're going to take the cheapest price a lot of times, right? And that's not going to be in New York City, right?
Yeah.
So the way I did it was I said, all right, I'm not going to be the cheapest, but what I might be able to be is the most innovative, or the one that's doing things that nobody else is doing. So that's why I stayed on top of like augmented reality, stuff like that, because I said, all right, if I'm the number one in augmented reality, when they want to do augmented reality, they're going to find me, right? I'm not going to like fight about nickel and diming for a website, right? I set the price. If you don't have it, you don't have it. If you do, cool. But here's what the other things I do. But I'll tell you that it's a tough industry. So even right now, right, it's a tough time to be getting work. So that's another reason I'm like, I still do my ideation and I still got clients I'm working on right now, but it's not as sustainable. And it might be because I spend too much time on other things. If you spend all your time on one thing, it could be. But that's just my 2 cents. And I still have mass ideation. I still work on it. But it is something that I am looking and saying, is this viable? In the way I do it right now, I am thinking of a new model, and I could talk to you about that model, and we can have a whole nother conversation about it. But what's your third thing?
So the third thing is not too dissimilar. It's connecting with folks who are kind of in the world of product management. So if you think of that sort of integrator type of role, this like, I think of it as, I mean, this is not technical, but the entrepreneur in residence, in a sense. Like you have to think like an entrepreneur within a company. You're the innovator in resident. So folks who are kind of doing that kind of work, when I think about if I were to return to kind of like corporate or startups or working in a startup with somebody else, that's the type of role. So I'm always interested. I love talking to folks who do that kind of work, and designers as well. So they're all kind of interconnected, except for the first one being cloud. The second one is like where the digital creatives at, making money too. So we got to get this money.
100%. So the product management thing is, my connection to that is I took a course at this company called the Product School.
Really? Okay, cool.
Yeah, it was like 2 years ago. I knew a guy. So this is a crazy story.
Yeah.
I'll give you the inside dirt for everybody to see. So my friend, he came out of Metabronx. He worked in Metabronx. He was a developer.
Cool. Yeah.
But I always saw that he was a very good salesperson. So I told him straight up, I said, you might be missing your calling, man. You're trying to be a developer, but you're a salesperson, and salespeople make the most money. So I don't know if you want to like look at that. So he goes to this networking event, hits me up right after. He was like, yo, you might be right. I just sold this guy on being his head of something. And I'm like, okay, what is it? What's this company? He was like, it's called Product School. And I was like, what is it? So he starts telling me, he's like, product management is the future. He's like, most investors won't invest in a company unless there's a product manager or the founder thinks like a product manager.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's interesting. I never even really knew what that meant. So he's like, look, since I'm the head, I forgot what his title was, I could let you take the class for free. Just don't tell anybody that you're taking it for free. So I go in I'm in there every Saturday morning taking the class. People are like asking me questions. I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'm with my man Julian. Don't worry about it. So I take the whole class.
Yeah.
I'm in class with people from Google, Spotify, all these startups, huge companies sending their people into this class. The information was no joke. Like no joke. I highly recommend it. I'm actually a salesman for the guy now unofficially.
Real. That's crazy. That's good product right there.
Was awesome. Awesome.
That means a lot because you've been doing this work, brother.
Yeah.
You could have taught the class.
I could have. At that time, I couldn't because I didn't understand the path. But now I get it. Each piece I have been doing.
Exactly.
Really
Just putting it all together.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand.
The major part that I didn't understand that I learned there was how integral analytics are to that process, right? Everything that you create as a product manager is a test that you have to be able to analyze.
Yeah.
Right. So every decision from every part of the company, you as the main person have to be thinking, okay, how are we testing this? How does the design team, the marketing team, the sales team, how are they affected by this decision? And what do I need from each one? So if you want to be in product management, highly suggest you look up that school. It might be way more expensive than it was.
It is. I've been tracking it. I've been watching the prices and it's just going up. I'm like, damn.
What is it now? Like what?
It's like 4 or 5K. It's like 4K. It's 4K.
So when I was doing it, it was like 3. It was like 3, but I got it free. But on the super low, I got the goods. I still have all my notes for that class. And I was going to make a new class about it and start talking about it based on this project I'm working on right now. And because I'm using the process for myself in this product I'm making. So I'm going to start documenting what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. I won't release it till the project is out because my partners don't want us to talk about it yet. Sure. But yeah, I'm going to start making content on that too. So cool. We went over the hour, but it's all good. I'm glad you jumped on, man. And I'm telling everybody, jump on any day. I'm here every day at 11. Tomorrow, I got crazy guests. You know, if you're interested, jump on from the music industry, from my music industry life in the past. And I'm still involved in it on the lows a little bit. So, yeah, I guess any final words for people like in this time, this entrepreneurship, like opportunity of a lifetime? What would you tell anybody who's thinking about doing something right now?
Yeah, man. I mean, I think we all have it within us. That's the number one thing just to realize. I mean, everybody's going through something different. We have family members who are sick, losing bread. You're losing bread. Yeah. If we can dig deep and first just trying to find peace and really rest and peace in your mind from that. Because I want to start there. But I do think it is grind season. I think it is build season, to be honest with you. Like I know there's like a whole nother side to it. But to the extent that you can be resilient and dig deep, it's gonna really pay off because the boom is gonna come. It's gonna come, and you want to be riding a wave. You don't want to start the level up when the boom starts. You want to have put in the work now. So I love what you're doing.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm 40 years old. This is the third recession I see. Personally, been involved. Every single recession I've been in, I did well because, like you just said, it's grind season. And I love that. First of all, and I'm innovative, right? At the end of the day, I think in innovation only, right? So right now, that's where we're in. Everybody, the opportunities are there. Most people don't understand how to take advantage of them or how to come up with solutions to them, right? Yeah. So what I'm trying to create this all for is to bring people together with solutions, and then let's make them happen. Even if I'm not involved, if I could just connect 2 people that make something happen that the universe needed at this time, that's awesome. But right now, work your ass off. This is the time. And I know I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs that are like, yo, it's hard for me to get it going because I'm stuck at home. You know, my mind is going a little crazy. I'm stuck. And, you know, can you help motivate me? And I'm throwing a little motivation text to people. But, yo, this is what I'm trying to create this for. Jump on here. Let's all help motivate each other. Thank you for coming on, Daniel. We're gonna keep it going, man. I hope you come back again, and definitely let's keep it going.
Sure.
Let's keep talking.
Most definitely, brother.
All right, thank you, man. Have a good day.
All right, take care. Bless.